Definitely want this idiot here, this real woolly one with the blue tag, because he causes nothing but dramas. I think really we're letting the youth of today down if we're not showing them how to ethically approach homesteading, home kill, and obviously your hunting and your pest control. Come on, get up. These are the culls. So they haven't heard this bell in a long time. Some of them may never have heard this bell. So they're the eyes over there in the distance. What are you doing, Mr. Toffee? If it doesn't work out, they don't come to the dinner bell, then we've got plan B in the car. Steady. Right. Right.
Oh, they're closest to the fence now.
Just grab him by the ankle, Steve. Yep. Drag him over.
Hey, welcome to Hunting Western Australia for our second episode, and tonight I am up in York with Seth. This is Luke's brother, and Steve, their mate, and we're going to be harvesting some sheep. So these are your sheep, aren't they?
Yeah, they're my sheep.
So tell us about your sheep, like where are they from, and how have you raised them?
Yeah, so essentially what we did is when we moved out to this property, we wanted to get some sheep and be a little bit more self-sufficient. So what we did is we went for the self-shedding sheep. There's like this scale where if you have a lot of sheep, it's viable to shear them. If you have a few sheep, it's not viable. And we managed to procure them from a guy who's been breeding this line for about 40 odd years. Very hardy and great carcasses. Essentially, we've set this up here just for home kills. We use a very cheap four-wheel drive winch, and then we've hooked this up to a battery, and I can just use a remote, and it makes life very easy, saves your back. And being able to raise them high is good when it comes to sort of skidding the lower portions.
Yeah, cool. All right, cool. Let's go and shoot some sheep.
Let's do it. These sheep here, we don't have a catch pen. We've got catch pens in other paddocks, but we don't have any yards or catch pens in this particular paddock. Unfortunately tonight, these are the sheep that we need to shoot. So for ethics, we've just gone through this total nightmare of rinkying up as quickly as we can, approximately something similar to a catch pen. So when we catch these sheep, we can actually secure the sheep and do a nice ethical shot. Versus foul shotting an animal and having it suffer. So this is the whole idea behind just doing this quick catch pen. While some people are probably inherently unpleasant and they want to pull wings off of flies, I think there is a pool of people who just don't know how and what and when and why, and they certainly don't understand the ethics. Beauty. Okay, so I saw on the news many years ago, there was some kids and they were throwing star pickets into someone's horses, which is horrible, and we wouldn't wish that on anyone or any horse. And I wonder, are these kids just inherently evil, or would they have done that if someone had taken them under their wing and showed them, listen, these rabbits are digging holes in the ground, which is risking these horses breaking their legs. And then perhaps we could put their inclination towards hunting to an appropriate use. This cow behind you kills me. What are you doing, Mr. Toffee? I mean, those kids could be there ferreting those rabbits out, or catching those rabbits, trapping those rabbits, shooting those rabbits, and that horse owner would be thrilled. But instead, they don't have anyone to show them what to do, and it ends up people torturing horses or cats or whatever it is that they do. Ring the bell over here, and we want the food here. But you need a little bit. Do this, and when they can see us. So you do that, and when you do it from here and walk that way. walk that way.
Near that fence,
Yeah,
keep going.
and don't face the sheep, because if you're facing the sheep, they think you're going to be after them. So face away from the sheep and just, yep, you got it. What are you doing, kiddo? Free. Yeah, this is just a puppy. She's about 6-7 months old, and she's just going to help us move these sheep. She's only just getting started. We shouldn't really be using her. She's more in training, but I don't really fancy running around a paddock. Right. Go on. Go on. Go on. Go on. She's got a lot of work ahead of her, like a long way away from trialling. Right, go still. Sit down on the floor, don't look at them. Steady. Behind. Behind, come on. Behind. Steady. 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 Hey, steady. And to be honest, we shouldn't really do this stuff with her because she could pick up bad habits. For example, I would have probably been disqualified about 12 times. Steady. Behind. Good girl. Steady. Steady. Behind. 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 Steady. 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 Good girl. Steady. Steady. Stay there, Michael, don't move. All right, Steve, do you want to close that for us, pal? From a practical position, she got the sheep in there for us and I wouldn't have done it by myself, so very happy. Good girl, good girl. Tipsy, tipsy, tipsy. Come on, kid. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. Hey, good girl, tipsy, tipsy. Steve, can I trouble you to jump in and just grab whoever? If you raise a hind leg, they'll wriggle for a bit, but then they'll kind of sit still for a second and I'll be able to get a nice shot on them. I'm going to choose not to go in there because I don't need to get knocked over by a sheep with a loaded rifle. So I'm going to get Steve to grab him and bring him over to the fence. Safety first. Well, I definitely want this idiot here, this real woolly one with the blue tag, because he causes nothing but dramas.
Oh, the closest to the fence now.
Just grab him by the ankle, Steve. Yep. Drag him over. We prefer to stand on this side, not the leg side. So on the back side of them, then the leg side, and that way you're not going to get kicked and it's not going to cause an injury with that knife. See how he's fairly safe? That's how we like to do it. Yeah. Happy days.
So what's the kicking for? Why is it kicking?
That's nerves. That's just nerves. He's well and truly dead. In fact, we can show you that he's dead. See, there's no response there, which means that if he's not dead, he's certainly brain dead. The kicking is just the nerves, just the nervous system. There's ways that you can actually damage the spinal cord in order to stop the kicking, but for us it's only just going to take a minute, and that's fine. They've got to be bled within 3 minutes, and they need to be gutted within 20 minutes. So the clock's starting to tick now. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Whoop! Beautiful. We have 20 minutes to gut them from the time that the first one expired. So we'll get a wriggle on. I think really we're letting the youth of today down if we're not showing them how to ethically approach homesteading, home kill, and obviously your hunting and your pest control. So I really think that these are things that we really need to address as a society, because I believe most kids think that their food comes from a supermarket, and they don't know how to interact appropriately with animals. So I think we're letting the youth of today down by not raising them in a way where they're connected to their food. And that doesn't just go for killing animals. I think it should go for growing vegetables and preparing their own food and doing their own meals as well. I mean, I think, yep, that's it. I think that growing your own vegetables is just as important. We've got an orchard right there. I think it's just as important. So, yeah, that'll do. Wow, I'm going to reverse into that. Yeah, that's all I got. That's my rant. Yeah, that's good. I'm just going to take the head off. So there's like a seam here that I'm going to use where this hair here meets the wool. Michael, can you come down a touch? You just hold on to that for me, pal. Whoop. Come down. Down, down, down. Whoop. You can see here that the stomach's under a bit of pressure. They're always going to be under pressure, but the longer you leave it, the more pressure there is. And if you leave it beyond 20 minutes, what begins to happen is the gases, because there's bacteria in here, and bacteria tend to like it around 40 degrees Celsius. Any baker will tell you that. And what happens is this carcass is sitting around 37 degrees Celsius, so the bacteria keep working, but what happens is the sphincter muscles stop working, so this guy can no longer burp or fart once he's dead. And this pressure builds up, and then what happens is it taints the meat as the pressure from the stomach pushes the contents into the cavity, if that makes sense. So this is why we don't want it longer than 20 minutes. Okay. So essentially at this point here, the gases can no longer build up. So while I haven't fully cleaned it out, I've got no risk of taint. So if I was in a rush, I could leave this momentarily and open the belly on, let's say, the second one, which we're not in a rush, we're good. Now, I'll just point out that a lot of people prefer to skin it before they gut it, due to our time sensitivity, because we're not shooting them here, so we're not ready to skin them, and we're in the paddock, and we always prefer that they travel with the hide on, because skin protects the organism from bacteria, and it does it whether they're alive or dead. So what we want to do is get it as quickly as we can, because the only bacteria we got to worry about while the hide's on is the bacteria in the gut. Come up, Michael. Okay. Now what I'm doing is I'm just taking this esophagus, or some people might call it a windpipe, and just freeing that up. Come back down, pal. Yeah, that should do us. And then I can grab it and actually pull it up and out. Chuck us that hose, pal. You've got a few different critical time sensitive periods, and the first time sensitive period is you've got 3 minutes with which to bleed it. Then you've got 20 minutes with which to gut it. Then you've got, depending on your conditions, up to 12 hours to get it into a chiller. So we're in no rush at all. I've got 12 hours because we're just coming on dark, or within 2 hours of sunrise. So if I was to slaughter this animal at sunrise, I've got 2 hours to get it in the chiller, but I've slaughtered this just as the sun was setting, which means we got 12 hours to get it in the chiller. So at this stage, we're not in a rush. The other thing we can do to speed up cooling it down, because the secret is always get it as cold as you can, as fast as you can. So the other thing you can do is you can actually hose out the internal cavity, and that water will pull a lot of heat out of it, and it gives it a bit of a head start. And the other thing that I've discovered is I just use a portable battery fan, and I'll put a battery fan in the chiller, and that additional air circulating pulls it down about 3 times as fast. So if you're using something, a lot of people will use something like a display fridge and put a fan in it, and that serves quite well for the homestead. The reason why I'm pushing all this out now is because blood doesn't like to stick to a wet floor, but it loves to stick to a dry floor. So I try and wet the floor up, and it makes cleaning it a lot easier. So I tell you, a lot of people will object to what I'm doing here. I'm actually dulling my knife by cutting through the fur. What you're supposed to do is open it up. And so I'm cutting through the fur, dulling the knife, and I'm also introducing bacteria. And so you might ask, well, why are you doing it, Seth? And the truth is because when I do a cut later on, this is coming off with the bandsaw, and it's just quick for me to do it this way. Come on, you thing. There we go. Come down and touch, pal. Currently, we can give if we hunt something, and that's not hunting native wildlife under license, because that natives are different. But if we hunt a pest animal, so for example, if we hunt we shoot a rabbit, we can give that away. We say, here, give it to your dog or whatever. But I hear in Victoria they've shut that down now. You can't even hunt a rabbit and give it to someone for their dog, and that's concerning to me, because I think controlling our own food is very valuable for us. Biosecurity is very important. For example, I have closed flocks. All the animals you see on this property, no more enter this property. This is it for me. Now, occasionally I'm going to have to reach out and purchase a new ram, in which case he's quarantined and isolated, and I make sure that he's healthy before he joins the flock. But essentially everything here is quarantined. My whole property is quarantined. So my chickens I breed from the brood stock that I've got. The sheep I breed from the brood stock that I've got. I'm not bringing in any more animals. I've closed off the flock. So I'm very concerned about disease. I'm very concerned about even we're getting on top of weeds. and someone brings a car in here and they can bring double Gs or something, and next thing you know, you got a problem. So I understand that. Now I think the controls can be put in place under the guise of that. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But so I do understand the need for biosecurity, and I'm grateful for it. And I'm grateful for the tagging system. As you've seen, these sheep are tagged, and it's very important, particularly in WA. We're about as lucky as we get. We don't even have varroa mite here yet, but it's on its way. So I understand the need for traceability, but to say you can't gift a rabbit that you shot, that boggles my mind. I really don't know what to say to that. I couldn't justify it. So I don't know. Our dad was very disapproving of hunting. He was concerned that we'd end up bloodthirsty, was his words. Now, my dad is a very sober and very strict individual, and I appreciate the way he raised me, to be quite honest. So I'm not criticising him, but he was totally against it, and he wasn't interested in us hunting in any way, shape or form. And this is why I feel so strongly about raising kids so that they know. Young Michael, he can slaughter a sheep. Michael can do everything I'm doing here right now, and he's done it plenty of times before, no problem. He can shoot, he can bleed them, he can gut them, he can skin them. In fact, I've probably got footage of it somewhere. Very capable kid. I'm trying to give him the childhood that I didn't have, and I think that he's never going to do anything to embarrass me by throwing star pickets at someone's horse like those kids on the news were doing. He's never going to do anything like that. He's too responsible, his ethics are too strong. He won't even take a shot if he feels it's not going to be a clean shot. There's many times that we've been out bow hunting and he's gone to full draw and he's just let down, said, I'm not taking that shot. And that comes with a lot of maturity and a good, strong sense of responsibility. So my story is we had these interests. So I think we have drives. We've got internal drives. We've got different drives. We've got hunger. We've got thirst. We've got sex drive. One of the things we have as predators is prey drive. We want to go out and we want to hunt. We want to catch things. I mean, if our ancestors were unsuccessful with hunting, we probably wouldn't be here now. So in some people, this drive is stronger than others, and I also believe that this drive will atrophy in some people, and some people are more inclined to it than others. Certainly, for me and my brother, we were very interested in hunting. It's all we really wanted to do. Since we were kids, we were catching tadpoles and catching lizards and things like that, and so going on to hunt, I think, is the next progression from that. And you actually feel good when you go out and you catch something and you get to feed your family. Certainly, I get more excited now watching young Michael hunt than what I get hunting myself. I suppose the thrill of hunting is sort of, over time it's been put into perspective. And for me, I'm more excited watching him do things than I'm interested in doing it myself. It's just, I don't know, it's like passing on the torch. It's really good, and he's got great ethics, but no, we weren't taught to hunt. We had to find out the hard way, and the issue there is animal cruelty comes in. Ethics, no one's teaching you how or what or why, and now at least we've got the internet. When we were kids, we didn't have that. I had to hunt down this guy called George, who was a bow hunter. Unfortunately for me, he could show us some things because we didn't have a clue what we were doing. And I'm very glad that we were disciplined enough, or at least my dad raised us in such a way that we knew that we shouldn't be throwing star pickets at horses. And then this guy, this bow hunter, he sort of took us under his wing a little bit and showed us a bit. And that's the first time I've seen how to gut an animal. It blew my mind. I'm thinking, how do you know where all these parts live? And it's sad because it's a skill that we should all have. We really, like as human beings, we should all know this. And it boggles my mind that people don't know it. Teaching the dogs to respect the livestock. And I mean, Michael has a hunting dog, catches rabbits. In fact, I'll send you a photo, you can pop it on the screen now. And he'll send his dog and it will go and it'll catch and kill a rabbit. And we're proud of it. It's like, good job. Because they're digging holes to break the horse's legs. We're very happy for that. But to tell you what, if that dog went and killed my wife's cat, it would be a different story for us. So this dog has to know, don't touch the sheep, don't touch the horses, leave the chickens alone, don't eat mum's cat, kill the rabbit, kill the fox. And it does that. And I think these are the ethics that we have to put into young kids as well. I think the fact that you mentioned it's so hard to break into the hunting community, so to speak, and it's not even a community, it's a fractured community because no one wants to play together because this is my permission, this is my property, I don't want to share it with you, or you can't come here. People get possessive of their permissions and I think it's there are people who do the wrong thing. I don't open my doors to people much at all, but through the game meat harvesting that Lukey's been doing, I've met some really, really good people, and not a single one who's showed up has been suspicious or off-putting in any way. They've all been really, really great people. So I think, if anything, people who are inclined to harvest their own food are probably a good quality of person. Better than, let's say, if they were into model trains. Well, you never know those model train guys. I had a model train when I was a kid.
So did I.
Used to blow smoke.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I had it in the UK. So the bacteria go with the gut. So now it's clean in here. And I've actually thrown a bit of water in here to pull out a bit of residual heat. And now I'm skinning the outside. Now that means that anything that touches it here is introducing bacteria. My hands are putting bacteria on this right now. To slow bacteria down, you need two things. It needs to be dry, it needs to be cold. And if you get minus 20 degrees, bacteria stop. But if you can get this down to under 7 degrees as fast as possible, and then you want to hold it around between 2 to 4 degrees, I'll hang this. Typically I hang sheep for a week. You can get away with less. Some people only hang it for a few days, but I find when you cut them on a bandsaw, if they haven't sat for a week, the meat is still a little bit soft and it's kind of jelly. And I like it so that it's a bit firmer, and when I cut chops they sort of stay as I want them. So I usually hang for a week, sometimes up to 2. But you don't want to hang it really much longer than 2 weeks. Beef is typically 2 weeks. Sheep I generally hang for a week. But everyone's different. You could talk to 100 different guys and they'll tell you 100 different things. This is just how I do it. And also, your viewers might know, other than talking a lot, that the skinning process I'm using is quite a slow process. You could wet your hand and essentially you can punch it out. Like some people will do this. And you look and think, far out, that was just way quicker, why don't you do that the whole time? Well, it's just because I just like doing it this way. I got no real rhyme or reason to it, it's just the way I do it and the way I like to do it. And I suppose because I was predominantly self-taught, even though I ended up in the pet food industry, being self-taught, I just learned a certain way. It tends to take a bit longer, but it's the way that I'm happy doing. I've tried many different ways, and there is a lot faster ways. I've seen guys who could do a sheep like this in about 3 minutes. Me, I take about 20 minutes, unless I'm talking, in which case it takes about an hour. Come up, Pat. Come on. The organs and the hooves we feed to our dogs here. We've got a bunch of dogs, so nothing here really is going to go to waste. So, matter of fact, Michael, can you chuck a foot to Tipsy, because she did such a, and Bolty boy, he can have 2. So yeah, nothing goes to waste here. Bolty will have 2, Tipsy can just have 1. There's not really much waste with this at all. Sometimes we eat the organs. When I do mince, I always put the liver and the kidneys in the mince. You never taste it, but you get the benefits, the health benefits of eating it. So anyone who does their own mince, that's a good one. I like to cut the heart up and do it like with eggs. So like bacon and eggs, but heart and eggs. That's good. And then I also like steak and kidney pie. That's some of these pastry shops don't even do it anymore. It boggles my mind. And so like I don't mind the offal, but I don't always eat it. For example, this offal here, I just threw it straight in the wheelbarrow. They'll go to the dogs. They're having this. And you might say, well, that could be wasteful. It's not. We got so much offal. The dogs can eat it. This, what we're doing, eviscerating and skinning, and then later on we're going to cut it up. This is fairly unique to humans as far as I'm aware. If we get a rabbit, I'll treat it much the same way, right? Head comes off, guts come out, skin comes off. We portion it, we cook it and eat it. If a dog was to catch that, it would consume the lot, everything. Now, a rabbit is small enough that they will actually consume the stomach. But if that dog was to catch something the size of a sheep or a goat, the dog will then eat around the stomach contents. So they'll consume everything, meat, bones, organ and hide, but they'll eat the stomach lining, but not the stomach contents, yeah? So this is the stomach lining here. They'll eat this and this. This is all fat. They'll eat all this, but they won't be eating the grass that's inside it. Does that make sense? I'll show you quickly. So the dog is not eating that. That's for herbivores. But they will eat the stomach lining and the fat. This is gall fat. So they'll eat all that. So me and my business partner were talking, and I was feeding. It actually started. I had some ferrets, and I wanted to know how to feed them. So I studied how the European polecat, which is the ferret's ancestor, how it eats. And like 80% of their diet, I think it was 83% of their diet or something, was rabbits, which is amazing when people mention rabbit starvation, which is a lack of fat in the diet. And yet these things didn't suffer from rabbit starvation. So anyway, after a little bit of looking into it, the brain of a rabbit is predominantly fat. So that's where they get all their omega from. And if you don't eat the brain, you're lacking something. So I was grinding up gutted rabbits because it proportionately, the ferret doesn't eat the gut. So I was grinding up whole rabbits minus the gut, meat, bones, organ and hide. And they were doing well. The ferrets were doing great. I had a client come and his German Shepherd emptied out and it was disgusting. It was like tar. And I said to this guy, dude, what's wrong with your dog? And he goes, what do you mean? I said, I mean that. You take him to the vet or something. And I said, what do you feed him? And he goes, oh, I feed him meat. I said, what else do you feed him? And he goes, what do you mean? I feed him meat. I said, oh no, where's he getting his calcium from, for example? I said, no. So I gave him about 6 or 7 kilos of my whole ground rabbit. And I gave it to him and said, try your dog on this. Anyway, in about a week's time, he rung me. He was so excited. He goes, mate, my dog, it's so healthy. Its droppings are perfect. I just picked them up. They're brilliant. There's no odor. It's not disgusting anymore. He says, can I get some more? I said, get stuffed. Your dog just ate 6 months of my ferret food. I'm going to have to go looking for more rabbits. And then I spoke to who's now my business partner, a dear friend of mine, Chris. And I said, Chris, if there were giant rabbits hopping all over Australia, we could make a real go of this. So we got a permit to process kangaroos. We upscaled our machinery and we've been producing what we've labelled real prey. So meat, bones, organ and hide, that animal goes straight in, it gets ground up and it gets put in a package and the dog gets all the benefits. The only benefit that the dog doesn't get is the benefit of chewing. That mechanical action cleans the teeth and our machines rob them of that because our machines take the job of chewing. So what we recommend based on science is 2 meaty bones per week to maintain oral hygiene, but your nutrition, it all comes from the roll. And all it is this whole animal not disassembled as we're doing now. That's it. And people who have swapped over, I mean, we get all sorts of stories about how great their dog's doing and so on and so forth. And really, there's no genius to it. It's like, look at nature, do that. I mean, I don't know why. In fact, when we started, before we started, we went around a heap of pet food processors. We pitched this idea. We said we'd support them. We'll send heaps of people there to buy it. Can you please make it? No one was interested. We gave up. We made it ourselves. So now we've got this roaring pet food business, and we're not even interested in pet food. We just want to make it for our own dogs. Yet here we are. Yeah. So I've always been interested in dogs. I've been training dogs for over 25 years, and so hunting dogs came into it. And so I just thought, well, I know how to train dogs. I'm going to just train the dog how to hunt. And it's really funny because teaching a dog to hunt, just that statement is misleading. You don't teach a dog to hunt. You teach a dog what not to hunt. So, don't kill the sheep. Please believe me, you let any city dog out into a sheep paddock, 9 times out of 10 you're going to have carnage. The things will hunt, and so to teach hunting to a dog is not really the case. You're teaching what's appropriate and what's not appropriate, and obedience is a huge thing. And my argument is, and one of the things we do through dog training is, any behaviour we teach, I look through the lens of this. If your dog is off lead, chasing a rabbit as fast as it can, it's 100 metres away and getting further, if you shout out your obedience command, will it do it in that scenario? And if it won't, well then you don't have obedience. And so when we train dogs, we give a written guarantee. If your dog's off lead chasing the thing, you call, boom, hits the brakes, straight back. And we don't think that it shouldn't be a unique thing. But there's very few dog trainers in WA that will give you that guarantee. I know of 3, including ourselves. And you should have it, because if I gave my car to a mechanic and I paid this man good money and he returns that car and he says, look, I couldn't change the tyres as you requested because, well, you know, it's a difficult car, I'd say, give me my money back. But for some reason in the dog training industry, people pay thousands of dollars, they don't get the result that they paid for, and they just shrug their shoulders and say, oh, my dog must be just difficult. And it's like, no, it's not difficult. You've been ripped off by a charlatan. So to me, very reliable training is a huge thing, and it has to be, because these dogs are actual killers. They will actually go and kill things. And there's ethics to that as well. Obviously, you don't want to see animals ripped apart. And so if a dog kills a rabbit, is that ethical? Well, yes, because it's instant. But you can't have a dog, for example, swinging off a buffalo and say, hey, we're going to kill this buffalo with a dog. Obviously not. There's going to be a level of suffering, probably on both parties. So, you know, hunting dogs need to be trained. They need to be safe around the guns. And if you call them away, they need to get away. Like you saw tonight, we locked my dog away before we shot anything. It's just responsible. So yeah, we train the dogs to hunt. We used to hunt the feral goats. The dogs would catch them by the ear, and we could go in there with the knife and bleed them out. And then we hunted a lot of rabbits, a lot of foxes. In fact, that's where Luke got the inspiration for his fox whistles, whatever he calls them, down under predator calls or whatever it is. So we would whistle, we'd have greyhound crosses, and we would whistle and we'd whistle, and the foxes would come in and we'd slip the dogs, because we didn't have guns. We had no guns. All we had at the time was a bow and arrow and a dog. So yeah, the dog was as close as what we had to a gun. You see, with a bow and arrow, you've got to stalk, you've got to get close, and you've got to be able to draw without the attention of the animal, and you've got to take that shot. What you can't do is, if that animal's moving, you can't really take an ethical shot. People will probably disagree, but really you can't take an ethical shot if that animal's moving. If an animal's running and you have a dog, you just send it, and the dog tears after it. In fact, it's even better if it's running, because the dog catches the animal with its eyes very quickly and goes, oh, there you are, boom, and it's off. So yeah, we had a lot of fun for a lot of years. We fed ourselves with feral animals, and we fed the dogs with feral animals for many years. I don't know how many years, probably 15 years or more, maybe 20 years now, I don't know, long time. But yeah, I think hunting with dogs is a very good thing. And sadly, I think what's happening is people living in cities are disconnected. So what they're doing is they're legislating change. So South Australia, no more bow hunting. It's illegal, I believe. Or if it's not, it's becoming illegal, but I think it's illegal already. Crossbows were banned some time ago. So you can't hunt with those. You can't even have them unless some license or whatever. Firearms getting very hard to have. Access to properties is always hard, and I understand that as a property owner. I don't really want people coming here either. But I think we need to create like a community where we can teach grassroost young kids on the way up, and adults as well, because a lot of adults have missed the opportunity to learn. So I think we should teach that for sure. I really do. I think what you're doing is really good with your, what is it, build, hunt, eat, grow. That's what we need, but not just a channel. You need people showing up and learning stuff and trading information. I mean, that would be really cool. Yeah, that's what we need. That is what we need. And I tell you what, when people find, it's like everyone's looking for truth. And when they find it, they just hang on for grim death. Like, wow, this is tangible, real, actual, something I can hold on to. And they look for that when it comes to their obedience with their animal training, whether it be, because we don't just train dogs, we train all sorts, horses, you name it, we train everything. I'm coaching some guys at the moment train camels. Huge success. So when it comes to, we just need an answer, we need this thing to do something, and we just can't seem to get it, and conventional wisdom's letting me down. It's like they're looking for answers, they're looking for truth. It's the same as when it comes to, like, I just want to put this on my table, how do I do that? I've got no idea how to approach it. Gardening, I mean, we're forever planting things. It's brilliant. The first thing we did when we moved in, we planted an orchard, because I said it's going to take me 2 years to get on top of this place. It was very run down. So if we plant an orchard first, in 2 years' time, when I go to put my feet up, at least I have some trees. So the first thing we did, planted an orchard. And we're always looking for things like, if this plant isn't going to give me something to eat, can the sheep eat it? And so everything we get is either edible for us or it's fodder for the livestock. And then, like I said, with the rotational grazing, I mean, this is what we're looking for. We're trying to get to something tangible and useful for you, and it makes you feel so much better as far as my own food security, and not only that, but just knowing where it come from. You know, I know what this sheep ate. I know it's not full of glyphosate. Am I even allowed to say that? Yeah, it's not full of glyphosate because I fed it. I know what it's eating, you know, and so I know that this is safe to eat, and I'm going to be proud to eat it. Yeah. Am I allowed to say glyphosate? When you buy grain, this blew my mind. I didn't learn this until I moved here. I'm embarrassed and ashamed to say, but I moved here, and then we saw these planes. They kept crop dusting, but the crops were already like. I thought this must be a Roundup Ready crop or something GMO thing, and it's impervious, but it kills weeds or something. Anyway, we got talking to the farmer, and they said, no, this is desiccated. What's desiccated? Dried out is desiccated, right? Like desiccated coconut or something. I said, oh, it's desiccated. What does that mean? And they go, well, we just spray it with glyphosate with the crop duster, and it kills all the crop, like all the wheat or all the barley or whatever it is, and it kills it, poisons it, it all dies. And then they go through with a harvester. That's what we're eating. That goes in our food, and you're saying, oh, I think it's gluten. Maybe not. Might not be gluten. So I got a dear friend who grows organic grain. That's where I get mine from. Because it's not poisoned just before they harvest. Look it up, Google it. Desiccated wheat, for example. Look it up. Blew my mind. We deliberately poison our food. And I'm not like pointing fingers at the farmer. He or she is just doing what is conventional, because not everyone thinks outside the square. So they're just doing what's conventional. but that's what you and I are eating. Have you ever read that on a label? Glyphosate. No, you don't. It's like, oh, it's bread. Yeah, mind-boggling. Michael, can you do us a favour? Can you run to Mum and get the hooks so I can hang these? Yeah, she's washed them, the hooks. Thank you, pal. Well, there's a flour mill right there. That there is $1,000 from the US. I've jerry-rigged it with a motor, and I grind my own organic flour. Now, I say, we grind some, we make you, I don't know, a flatbread, do a wrap, eat it, and you tell me if you're gluten intolerant anymore. I used to sit on the couch after work. I would go home, I'd eat dinner, and I'd sit on the couch, and it felt like someone had hooked up a bicycle pump and just blown my guts out. And I used to just sit there uncomfortable the whole evening until I started milling my own flour, and it's organic and doesn't happen. Maybe it is gluten and maybe you're going to blow up, but you know what? Maybe it's not. I get dogs in all the time that are allergic to chicken, right? Most common allergy there is. You know how allergies work? Okay, well, it's not even an allergy, it's a sensitivity, right? Because if you're allergic, you go into anaphylactic shock. So it's not an allergy, it's a sensitivity. So when we say dogs are allergic to chicken, they're not allergic to chicken, they're sensitive to chicken. That's the number one cause of issues with dogs, yeah? Second cause is beef. And you go, huh. And then after that, sort of lamb, and you think, well, that's pretty much how we consume it. It's how we eat it. And that's what they're getting, is the cast-offs. So we get these dogs in. My dog's got an allergy to chicken. And then we go, okay, no worries. Cut out the chicken, we've got to feed it a novel protein. It might be kangaroo, the vets recommend horse. We put them on a novel protein. Let's say we use kangaroo, dog's eating kangaroo. And the dog comes good. And after 6 weeks, we go, yep, 100% stable on the kangaroo. What we do then is we can introduce a new protein and see how the dog reacts to that. We might add fish and go, huh, it's good with fish as well. You introduce fish for 6 weeks, dog's stable, okay, we're good. So it's this process of elimination. After about 12 months, what we do is we say, try your dog on the chicken again. And they go, oh, no, he had all these problems with skin and da. We go, try it. We give them chicken, no problem. And you go, well, how is that possible, right? When I started the pet food business, I tried to price match everyone as best I could. So I would look at all the competitors. Oh, they're charging this much for lamb, they're charging this much for fish, this much for... I could never match chicken, ever. I could never match chicken. I'm selling chicken for 3 times as much as they're selling chicken, but I'm buying my chicken from the same place. So I'm like, how, when I'm buying it for the same price, it costs so much to process it and so much to bag it, how can they be cheaper on the chicken and everything else? And then one of the technicians was in working on one of the machines, and he goes, wow, your chicken's expensive. I said, well, this is what it is. I've done everything I can to get the price down. I just can't get it down any lower. And he goes, oh. He goes, how much breadcrumbs are you adding? That's how they get the price down. You just go to Sanitarium, get a big bulker full of Wheat Bix, and you just grind that stuff straight in. And now it's $1 a kilo instead of $4 a kilo. So when your dog's allergic to chicken, is it allergic to chicken? So I got a beef allergy once. I was at a dairy, and there's 2 ways to get a beef allergy, right? One is that you have a leaky gut, and the protein, the beef protein, goes through your stomach wall and into your cavity. And your body launches an immune response to that beef protein. And then the other way to get a beef allergy is that you might get a tick that's come off of a cow and attached itself to you. And as it injects the anticoagulant so it can drink your blood, it actually injects you with some of the beef protein. I believe that's how I got my beef allergy. I couldn't eat beef for a year. If I ate the tiniest bit of red meat, I would be throwing up everywhere, violently ill. After a year, my immune system sort of settled down. I was okay, I could eat beef. Now I'm on a carnivorous diet and I just lost 10 kilos. But this is how you get this allergy. It's either injected into you or it's come in via your mouth, but you might have had a leaky gut and it's gone in like this. Now I think what happens is when you're mixing these things with the chicken protein, like your breadcrumbs, your Weetabix and so on,
That's the problem. Your dog's launching an immune response to the crap that you've mixed the chicken with. And once you give him a year off and you give him actual real chicken with nothing but chicken, suddenly the dog's fine. Now, not to say that not all dogs that have a chicken sensitivity will come good. Some of them maintain this sensitivity, but most of them don't. So, I'm deeply concerned about our food and where it comes from, and the fact that they can have this desiccated wheat boggles my mind. I didn't even know about it till recently. And that's what they're doing, they're crop dusting your food just before they harvest it. Yeah, maybe that's where the crook guts come from. Yeah. I would say try it. But I mean, don't eat a huge amount, just eat a little bit and then see if you can build it up. Yeah. But I've got organic wheat in the freezer. Well, I say we grind some up and send you home with some. Yeah. Yeah. We're designed to eat food. Yeah. Why are we suddenly no one can eat food? Peanuts! Oh, can't eat peanuts, you'll die. Kids can't even take peanuts to school. Or egg, or a whole bunch of other stuff, which I can't even remember what it is. When we went to school, you'd eat anything. No one was had issues with a peanut. But I think what it is we overcomplicate it. Like people say to me, I'll give you an example. I've got a 6-month-old Labrador. How much should I feed him? Is your Labrador here? No. I give up. How much should you feed him? Now, what I can do is I can go on the computer and I can fire up a feeding calculator and I can go, how old's your dog and is he active and and it will come up with this generic term of maybe this much. But the fact is, I don't know what his metabolism's like. I don't know how much energy he burns in a day. Is he active? Is he very passive? Is he outdoors? Because an outdoor dog needs to burn energy to stay warm during the winter. An inside dog sleeping by your fire doesn't need to burn that. So how can I tell you what to feed your dog? So it's really easy. Is he fat? Is he skinny? Or is he in between? Because I have never seen wolves going around measuring out and weighing their food. They don't do it. It boggles my... People have lost common sense. There's no more common sense. It boggles my mind. How much do I feed my dog? Now there's a bunch of people watching who I've had to say. But yeah, it boggles my mind. Well, it's funny, I had a chat with Dr. Tom Lunsdale. I rung him up when I was starting the pet food business. And Google him. He's a veterinarian, very, very cluey guy. I don't know if he's still practicing or not. He's probably an old boy now. He was attacked for his views on feeding dogs. And what you just explained is what he recommended feeding. And they tried to strip him of his veterinary license. You know the biggest pet food manufacturers in the world? Mars, Nestle, and Colgate Palmolive. Yeah. Boggles the mind. What would your vet recommend you feed the cat?
Science.
Which is a biscuit.
Yeah,
of course.
And it's got wheat.
Of course it does. Which has probably been desiccated. Yeah. I don't know why, but my cat's not well. So it's meal, right? So they use meat meal. Yeah. Meat meal can be anything. And when they render it down and when they cook it, they actually damage the DNA to the point that you can't test that biscuit for what it is. They've damaged the DNA so badly that if you actually sent it to a lab, they couldn't tell you what animal that is. That's the rendering process.
That's worrying.
And that's what you're feeding your animals. So it boggles my mind. So we're just going to chuck this in the chiller now, and we'll come back to this in a week, and then we'll buzz it up on the bandsaw for consumption in the home. There are other ways to approach it if you don't have a bandsaw. My recommendation for anyone at home is buy not one of these, you won't get one. Buy a scope, like a display fridge. Buy a display fridge. Steve's got a Ripper one. I'll get him to send you a picture. Steve's got this Ripper display fridge, and he's just made a little frame for it where he can hang his carcasses and a bandsaw. They're your best bet if you're going to invest any money. Don't spend $1,000 on a gun until you have your chiller and your bandsaw, because what's the point of procuring an animal? You can't do anything with it. So start with the chiller, start with your bandsaw, and then worry about how you're going to catch the jolly animal. Because there's no point. This is what I learned when I was young. I'd go out, I'd catch an animal, I'd bring it home, and I'd think, I don't know where to put this. And I do such a bad job, even worse than this job, of cutting it up and shoving it into a freezer, and then the parts were no good, I couldn't use them. Most of it ended up relegated to dog food. And then as I got better with my processing, the dogs started getting less and less. And in the end, you can be so fussy that they don't get any. But yeah, chiller number 1, and then a bandsaw number 2. The only thing I would get above these would be a knife. We use 5-inch boning knives, 6 inches common. Knife, steel. Oh, and I'll tell you what you need, a video on sharpening knives, because I see stuff on the internet and it boggles my mind, because with me, I want to sharpen a knife very, very quickly. I'm not going to sit there for 20 minutes with a whetstone honing it. I mean, what kind of psychopath has the time to sit there doing that all day, right? And so I use a power file, right? This is a cheap one. At work, I got an expensive one. This is just a cheap one. This is what they call a power file, or a pencil sander, or something like that. And I can sharpen a knife to razor sharp with this in about 30 seconds, unless it's already got an edge and I'm just sort of, I'm not changing the bevel in any way, in which case it'll take me about 5 to 10 seconds. 30 seconds with one of these. I'll have to do a video one day. But this. Now, yes, you're going to wear out your knives quicker than if you did it on a stone, because these are a bit more aggressive. But who wants to spend their life doing this? Knives are cheap. They're like 10 bucks. 30 bucks if you don't know where to get them from. But for $30, I would rather have the years of my life than sit there with a stone. It takes 30 seconds from a dull knife to redo the bevel. Honestly, it's the best way. And it will go from totally dull to shaving sharp, 30 seconds. I promise you, I'll do a video for you one day. All right, pal, where are we? Let's chuck this in the chiller. Do you want to get that door for me? Yep. So I'm just going to chuck this fan on, and that'll improve the circulation, and it'll pull these down about 3 times as fast as it normally would. Very valuable to have. So if you're running a scope, I shouldn't be really brand, but a display fridge, and you put a little frame and you're going to hang your carcass, if you've got a little fan, or you can rig a fan up if you're that way inclined, the more airflow the better. Yep, the difference between a chest freezer and a blast freezer is one has a fan. So, yeah, well worth it. Yeah, definitely, I can't stress it enough. Get a chiller and get a bandsaw, and you will create cuts that would cost you. So for example, I did the maths once, and if I got this sheep fully cut up from a supermarket, it would cost me 500 bucks. The sheep, it boggles my mind. They're born here, they eat my grass, and then I eat them. But what I do is I cut them up on this, thus turning, that's $1,000 worth by the time I've cut it up. That's what it would cost me if I went to a supermarket and brought it home. Yeah, I can do this in my own home, save myself $1,000. So it's funny, suddenly the kids can eat as much meat as they like. We're not restricting it. Eat more meat, come on, hurry up. Yeah.
Seth, thanks so much for showing us how to harvest a sheep.
Oh, my pleasure.
And all of the other stuff that we talked about as well. There's a lot in there. We talked about a lot.
Probably a lot to unpack.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack. But we will be back in a week's time to butcher the animals that are in this fridge. And look out for that episode, and we'll see you next time. See you later.